Sound check test 1 2 1 2. Sound check 1 2 test. We're good 1 2. Yes. All right, we are in. I think we good on every platform. I think we're good everywhere. Shout out to the people on those of y'all on Instagram. I'll have my mic in here today because the little adapter that makes the mic work, I have somehow inexplicably misplaced it, so I might have to get another one. That piece is not there, and the rest of it doesn't work, so I might have to get another piece. But y'all can hear me, right? Can y'all hear me over there on Instagram? Just let me know y'all can hear me fine. Hope everybody has had a great weekend. The topic here today, we're gonna talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the topic. I'm gonna tell you why people hate Elon Musk. So I already told you why they hate Donald Trump. Today I'm gonna tell you why they hate Elon Musk because there are some parallels, but there are some other different reasons why people really do not like this guy, especially now, because he's in the news. If y'all have been following the news or paying attention to social media at all, and social media pretty much is a source for news these days, you probably heard people talking about Elon because he is working directly he aligned himself with President-elect and former president and future president Donald Trump during the 2020 campaign season. And he was at campaign rallies with Trump saying that he is no MAGA and conservative or whatever phrase you want to put on him. And Donald Trump won. And now Elon seems to be flexing his muscle when it comes to his very large megaphone he has access to, that being a platform called X, formerly known as Twitter. He doesn't actually have a political position. He's allegedly going to be part of this DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, which is supposed to be headed by he and Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And even though he isn't technically in the government right now, and even though Trump is not technically the president yet, Elon has been saying things and drawing a whole lot of attention from a lot of different people, which is why his name has been even more in the news than it already was. I mean, he's a pretty well-known person from just being a successful entrepreneur and having Tesla and SpaceX and all the other things that he does. But today, I'm going to go into more detail about why people are coming to hate him, or at least pretending to hate him through the internet, same way that I pretend to be a lawyer on the internet. I'm not a lawyer. So any of you wondering, are you a lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer. I get asked that question almost every day. So anyway, let me introduce myself before we get into this. For those of you who are not familiar with me, and those of you who are familiar with me, but you forgot who I was since my last live stream. My last live stream was last Wednesday. I told you I wasn't going to be streaming on Thursday because I had an appointment, and Friday I was getting some new internet installation, and they couldn't come till around the time that I was after my live normally would be. So it's been about 5 days. So some of y'all might have forgotten. Then my name is Dre Baldwin, and you know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 35 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. Our job over here is to help performers, professionals, entrepreneurs, people who are ambitious and serious about taking your game to its highest possible level, help you perform at your highest possible level through taking the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports world and translating those over to the business and professional world. That's what we do generally. I'll talk more about myself later on, maybe not. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com is where you can find out more about me. If you want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach, get access to our training programs, universities, courses, masterminds, coaching, etc. Again, that's all at WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. There's a link to that in my bio or in the description wherever you are watching this stream. So How many points do I have here? 9 specific points, but I tend to blend my points all together. But I'll go over all 9 when I'm done. Let's get right into it. Why do people hate Elon Musk? What is people's real beef with Elon? And by the way, before I even get into this, if you have a question or comment while I'm speaking and you want me to address it, then go ahead and post it while I'm talking. Or specifically for those of you who are on TikTok, I'm looking at you all over here because I'm streaming on 7 different platforms right now. So if you see me looking around at different directions, it's because I have different cameras here. On TikTok, you might want to wait until I actually start reading the comments, because if you post something right now, I'm not going to see it because the notifications keep coming while I'm speaking. So number 1, why do people hate Elon Musk? Number 1 reason, and these are not in any particular order, just the order in which I thought about them, is that Elon Musk is publicly noted for his financial success. I think we all know who he is. One of the main reasons we know who he is because he made a lot of money, or at least is publicly noted that he's made a lot of money from his business ventures, whether it be the companies that he heads, whether he, people try to say, well, he didn't start this company and start that company. What the hell difference does it make? He runs the company. He's the face of the company. He's the reason the company is what it is. When you talk about Tesla, you talk about Elon Musk. You talk about SpaceX, you talk about Elon Musk. The same way that McDonald's became what it is, not because of the people who are named McDonald. The McDonald brothers who started the McDonald's company are not the ones who made the company what it is. A guy named Ray Kroc who actually did that. And there's a whole book. There are books, many books written about that. But the face of the company is this guy, Elon Musk. And if you notice, you pay attention to movies or childhood stories or fairy tales, one of the things you may notice, or even comic books, you may notice that the bad guy is always some rich person. You ever notice this? That the bad guy in many stories is always some rich person who has a whole lot of money and they're just a bad person, whether it's a cartoon. Let me think of some examples. So, for example, there used to be a cartoon back in the day called DuckTales. And in DuckTales, one of the main characters was this guy named Scrooge McDuck. And he was like the old grandfather, patriarch of the family. So this is the patriarchy, they were painting it as a negative thing. And he had all this money, and he was just this miser who never wanted to give anybody any of his money. He would just swim around in his basement full of gold coins all day, every day. He was the bad guy, and he had a whole bunch of money. In the movie Ocean's 11, not the original Ocean's 11 from back in the day, but the contemporary version with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Who was the bad guy in that movie? It was Terry Benedict, played by, what's the name of the actor who played Terry Benedict? Any of you know that guy's name? The guy who played Terry Benedict in the movie Ocean's 11, what was he? He was a rich guy who owned a whole bunch of casinos, and he was the bad guy. The bad guy in many stories is often a guy who has a whole bunch of money. Now, why is that? Why do many stories seem to have this, whether we're talking a cartoon, a comic book, a movie, or a fictional movie, or a movie that's kind of more based in, let's say, everyday acting? Why is it that the bad guy is always somebody with a whole bunch of money? Because they are training you, they are conditioning you to think that having a whole bunch of money is a negative thing. All right, this is part of the programming that a whole lot of people are given that many of you don't even realize this programming is happening. The programming is a head of a family patriarch is a negative guy and is a bad thing. This is one of the reasons why so many people are preaching about destroying the patriarchy. Another one is that people who have a whole lot of money are just negative and bad people. That's another reason why people are on this whole eat the rich and tax the rich, and the 1% of the bad guys and the 99% of the good guys. These are all things that are being programmed into you. And if you think this is not affecting you subconsciously and leading to your actual actions, then you are sorely mistaken. It is. This is programming you and controlling you in many ways. So the rich is always the enemy of the masses. And Elon Musk is pretty much known as a rich guy. I think maybe right now publicly noted as the richest person in America, maybe even on the planet. So that's one reason why they hate Elon Musk. Let's move on to the next reason. Next reason is that Elon Musk has full control over the public town square. What is the public town square? Public town square is X, formerly known as Twitter. Town square is just a place where people meet to exchange ideas, exchange beliefs, to debate, to go back and forth and talk about the news of the day. That is where it happens. X is the place where that takes place. Any of you who wants to know what's going on in current events and you want to get some news sources that are more independent rather than mainstream media, I would suggest you use X. That's where I get all my news from. I do not watch any mainstream media platforms. I don't watch CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, Fox, or any others. I do not own a television, but I know what's going on in the world because I use X. I use X on a consistent basis every day. I publish on there. I post stuff. I reply to people's stuff. And Musk can find out what's going on. And one of the reasons that people hate Elon Musk is that he now owns a platform. Now, it used to be called Twitter. And before that, it was controlled by this guy, Jack Dorsey. I don't know if he was I guess he was the guy who was most in control of it, the biggest owner of the platform back then. And Jack Dorsey was much more left leaning. Jack Dorsey, I believe the amount, if I'm remembering it correctly, he donated to several causes. I do believe he donated $10 million to Mr. Kendi, who wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. So that was one thing that he did to show his hand, Jack Dorsey. Another thing is I believe he was a donor to it was either the 2016 or the 2020 campaign for the Democrat candidate. So that was Hillary Clinton in 2016, Joe Biden in 2020. And I remember famously, those of you who watch Joe Rogan, who has a very popular podcast, most of you know who Joe is. He famously had Jack Dorsey, who was the former owner of Twitter. I guess he was the owner. And this woman, I forget her name. Her name was like Vijaya, something like that. Her name was. She was the head of, I don't remember her exact title, but she's the person who decided who gets banned, who gets censored, et cetera, on Twitter. Joe Rogan had both of them on his podcast. And he also had this guy named Tim Pool. Some of you know who Tim is. He has his own platform and show. He's a white guy that wears that black beanie all the time. So he had Tim Pool on the show with him. And he had the two people, the heads of Twitter, on the show. And they were basically grilling these heads of Twitter about what kind of regulations are you putting on people when it comes to suppressing what they say and what they can post and what are your policies, et cetera, et cetera. And they were just basically, prosecuting these two about this, Tim and Joe Rogan. And these people were just talking in circles, making themselves look like they were very heavily leaning to the left based on who was saying what and what they wanted them to say and what they wanted to get through and what they didn't want to get through. I'm saying all that to help you understand that the former owners of Twitter were left-leaning, and Elon Musk, now he owns the platform, he's right-leaning. And I believe the amount he paid for Twitter was $44 billion, not all in cash, but a $44 billion transaction. So a great exit for the people who ran Twitter. And Elon took control of it. And X is hugely influential when it comes to the narrative of public discourse regarding news and current events. All right, social media probably has a bigger impact on current events and news, and at least the way that we look at them, than mainstream media has. I think most of us would agree to that whatever's happening on TikTok or X or YouTube has more influence on people these days than what happens on MSNBC, ABC, or Fox. And Elon has control of it. And if you happen to not be conservative, you happen to not be MAGA, or you are staunchly against conservatism and staunchly against MAGA, then this is just another reason why you hate Elon Musk, because he represents a platform that now has allowed, I believe, in my experience, because I was using Twitter back when it was left, I'm using Twitter now that it's a little bit more conservative, that now there are more conservative voices able to be heard on that platform. And if you're used to conservative voices being suppressed on X, used to be Twitter, and now they're not being suppressed, then you probably get very annoyed by that because of the juxtaposition between the two positions. And who are you going to get mad at? Now, you can't just be mad at the world, and most people don't get mad at a situation. What most people try to do is find a target for their anger, and Elon Musk runs the platform, and he has aligned himself with Donald Trump, so it's very convenient to just get mad at Elon Musk. So the second reason a lot of people hate Elon Musk is because he has allowed the town square of the internet to become more conservative and to open its platform to allow more conservative voices, to allow Donald Trump to come back on there, to allow the bald-headed guy who used to be a kickboxer, whose name I can't say because I'm going to get kicked off one of these platforms if I say his name, to allow him to get back on the platform, and a whole bunch of people who have previously been suppressed and either blocked or completely kicked off or banned from the platform. He has allowed them to speak more on the platform. And I don't know if those of you who use the app probably know about this, but some of you probably don't know about it. Right after the election, about 6 weeks ago, after it was clear that Trump had won the election, another town square app, or trying to be a town square app, popped up. It was called Blue Sky. Any of y'all heard of this Blue Sky app? So this Blue Sky app is basically what it it seems to me, I never hopped on it. I never got on it, never used it. But what I saw, because on X, I follow a whole bunch of people who on both sides of the political spectrum. I follow a bunch of conservative people. I follow a bunch of MAGA. I follow a bunch of Democrats. I follow a bunch of liberal people. Even people I disagree with, I follow on both sides. I want to know what everybody's talking about. But after Trump was clearly the winner of the election in November, a bunch of people who I follow on X who were clearly left-leaning people. And when I say clearly, what I mean is they would openly trash and attack Donald Trump every day and talk shit about MAGA supporters and Republicans, et cetera, et cetera. A bunch of them announced that they would be leaving X and they would be posting on this new app called Blue Sky. And Blue Sky is allegedly supposed to be like a nicer quote unquote place than X. I have a problem with this for several reasons. First of all, everybody who I saw saying they were going over to Blue Sky were all Trump haters, MAGA haters, and left-leaning liberals. So what the hell are you going to get over there but a whole bunch of people agreeing with you? Is basically you're moving into an echo chamber and you're proud of it, which makes no sense. Just a reflection of your inability to basically stand behind your ideas. If you have solid ideas, you should go into a space where a bunch of people may disagree with your idea and be willing to defend it. Now, that's the whole point of having an idea. So that was one thing. Secondly, was that a bunch of these folks were talking about, well, this is going to be a nicer place or is going to be similar to X, but without the dumb people, LOL. And that's just a reflection of the childishness of a lot of people when they come across something that they disagree with, that it can't possibly be that everybody who disagrees with you is dumb and everybody who agrees with you is smart. I mean, it sounds good. I mean, it's funny and a tongue-in-cheek, again, what's the word I want to use here? Adolescent type of way. But it doesn't actually make sense in a logical, sensible way. And these are people who are like professionals, not mostly politicians, but professionals and people who talk about politics all the time. Like, and they were seriously saying this, which made no sense. But anyway, let me not go too deep into that. So the second reason people don't like Elon Musk, as I just explained, is that he controls the public town square. And now he's allowed more conservative voices and conservative positions to be shared on that platform where they previously were being heavily suppressed. Moving on to number 3, why people hate Elon Musk. Number 3, he is obviously friends with and a supporter of, and now will be working with, at least according to what we're seeing, he's going to be working with Donald Trump. And half the people in America, or even in the world, hate Donald Trump. So if you align yourself with Donald Trump, you know you're going to get hate. Elon Musk aligned himself with Donald Trump, therefore he's getting hate. On top of the fact that he is a well-known person himself. So of course he's going to get hate. This is the reason why a whole bunch of people who are quiet supporters of Donald Trump or quiet Donald Trump voters, or they agree with the things that Donald Trump says, many of them will not go public with those agreements. And it's become, people have become more comfortable with it over years as he's going through 3 election cycles here. But a lot of people still don't get too loud with it because they don't want to deal with the impending backlash that comes with aligning yourself with Donald Trump in any positive way. Whether you say you voted for him, whether you say you like his policies, whether you're glad that he won, you're going to get negative pushback whenever you align yourself with Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. Elon Musk has done it openly and loudly. And again, because he's already famous, of course, he's going to get a whole bunch of hate and opposition based on that. Number 4 reason people hate Elon Musk. Elon is an entrepreneur. Now, when I say he's an entrepreneur, that's not the actual reason why he's getting hate. Let me continue. He's an entrepreneur not only in fact, being that he owns businesses, and definition of an entrepreneur is someone who starts or runs a business enterprise while taking on greater than normal financial risk. He is definitely that, but also Elon is an entrepreneur at heart. And let me explain to you what that means. It's the one thing to be an entrepreneur in fact, meaning you run a business and you're taking on greater than normal financial risk. Entrepreneur at heart means that you are not one who is willing to bend to authority. See, being an entrepreneur at heart means you put yourself in a position of authority, and you do not bend to the authority that other people claim to have or pose as having. And it means you do not simply follow rules just because rules are in place and rules are stated. Just because the rule says something up on the wall does not mean that you have to follow it. And again, when you're doing this consciously and intentionally, especially in business, this is one of the things that entrepreneurs do. Like, one of the reasons entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs is because we looked at the landscape, looked at the way people are solving a certain problem and said, oh, I can do it better. I can do it different. I can serve people at a higher level than the current solutions are offering. And therefore, I have the audacity to put my own shingle up and put my own sign out there, and I'm going to do it better than whatever is already out here. It's like if I opened a pizza shop in my town, and what am I saying about opening a pizza shop? It's not that I'm saying that no one has pizza. I'm not saying that nobody here is selling pizza. It's saying that I know there's 100 other pizza shops in town, but I believe my pizza shop is going to solve the problem of people wanting pizza better than it is currently being solved. It takes a certain level of audacity and a certain amount of balls to have that type of mindset. Elon Musk, I believe we can all agree, has that. And most people spend their entire lives following every rule. I talked about this when I mentioned Donald Trump. So there are many parallels here between why people hate Elon and why people hate Trump. One of the reasons why they're aligned with each other is that many people spend their entire life following every rule, bending to every authority, and doing everything that they are told to do. So when you come across a person who does not follow the rules, who does not bend to authority, and doesn't do what they're told to do, they actually take all the rules, all the authority, and everything they're told to do and say, fuck you, I'm going to do different than that. When you come across someone who is like that, you got two choices. One, you can look at them, notice the juxtaposition between how they behave and how you behave, and then you can say, damn, that's interesting. Maybe I am doing it the wrong way. This is a different way of looking at it. Maybe I can adopt this person's approach and it'll help me. You have that option. The other option is the option that most people take is when you see someone behaving exact opposite from you, and you can't negate what they're doing because they are publicly noted for being successful. See, it's one thing if you're performing exact opposite from me and you're a failure, then I could say, well, see, that's the reason why they're failing, because they're doing things wrong. But if someone's doing the exact opposite of me and they're winning and they're succeeding, and it's obvious they're succeeding, and I can't act like they're not, now, again, I can either say, damn, maybe I need to make a change, which is very difficult because that requires me to change my internal view of myself and my behavior. Or option B, which is what most people take, was to find a way to talk negative about them to allow you to rationalize the difference between their behavior and your behavior. This is what a whole lot of people do, especially when it comes to someone, again, who is publicly noted for their success, who you don't like. You find a way to negate their success and the gap between their success and your success, again, depending on however you define the word success, and you find a way to pull them down, at least in your own mind. So it's okay that their performance is up here and your performance is down there because of these other negative things that you can say about them. So when people see someone who has this mentality, they naturally find a way to fight against it. This is the normal human instinct, is to find a way to say, well, okay, well, maybe this person has all this success, but here's some negative things you could say about them. And Elon, just like any public figure, if you are out there in the public sphere long enough and openly enough, people will find plenty of negative things to say about you. Some of them may be supplied by you, and some of them maybe even be based in truth and accuracy. Doesn't mean it has, but that does not, let me say it this way, it doesn't negate the difference between what they've done and what you've done. It doesn't negate the difference between their mindset and your mindset. So Elon Musk has this mindset of, again, I'm not going to follow all the rules. I'm not going to bend to authority just because you claim to have it. And I am not going to just do everything that somebody tells me to do. And I would guess, just from my experience in life and dealing with people, most people would love to be in that position to where they don't have to follow a rule. They don't want to. They don't have to bend to authority who they don't respect or they don't like what the authority is telling them to do. And they don't want to they just don't want to be told what to do. I talk to people all the time, often in my coaching practice, when I'm talking to people who are employed, but they don't want to be employed. One of the common things I hear every single time from people in that position is, I don't like people telling me what to do. I hear this all the time. Dre, I'm just tired of people telling me what to do. All right, I'm tired of having to go by this schedule. I'm tired of having to live this way where I got to deal with this boss who I don't even like, but they're the boss, so I got to follow them because I got to get the check and I got to do everything that they say. And Elon Musk, as with any entrepreneur, especially those who publicly talk about being entrepreneurs, talk about these things, they are showing you right in front of your face, there is a way to do this. The challenge for being an entrepreneur, one of the biggest challenges of entrepreneurship, folks, is that you must have two very important traits to be an entrepreneur. They are physical traits. Would you be okay if I shared them with you? Because every entrepreneur needs them. All right, I'm going to tell you what they are. Number one is you have to have a strong stomach. Strong stomach means the ups and downs and the inevitable twists and turns of entrepreneur life are going to require you to have a strong stomach so that you don't completely fall to pieces anytime things don't go as planned. And the second thing that you need is a set of brass testicles, all right, big balls to be an entrepreneur. Why? Because it takes balls to say, I see the rules listed right there on the wall, but I'm not going to follow any of them. Again, everybody wants to not follow the rules. Most people never follow through with not following the rules. Elon Musk has done this. And again, combine this with all the other pieces that I'm telling you here, and it makes people go against him even stronger because he represents something that other people want to be, but they don't have the courage or the will or the stomach or the balls to be. All right, so again, the juxtaposition is what causes most people to go into cognitive dissonance. When people experience cognitive dissonance, which is basically a conflict between the way you see the world and what's actually happening in reality in the world, you can deal with that cognitive dissonance by making changes to yourself, which most people will not do. Or instead, you can just come up with a rationalization that makes the cognitive dissonance okay, which is find a way to trash the person who clearly is doing something different from you, but it seems to be working. Moving on, point number 5. We're talking here today about why people hate Elon Musk. And there are many reasons. That's why we got a list here. Number 5 is that Elon's acquisition of Twitter, turning into X, then his alignment with Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump winning, and now him using his platform on X, because if Elon posts on X, it gets more engagement, or more, not even engagement, just it's more visible than anybody else posting on X because he owns it. So clearly he can rig the system to make himself get seen more than anybody. And why not? If I owned it, I would do the same thing. He is exposing the nonsense of politics right now is what he's doing. And that's when people really start talking about him, because I didn't even think of this subject till probably like 3 days ago, maybe this past Friday or Saturday, because a lot of people have been talking about Elon and they're trying to ridicule and bait Donald Trump into going against Elon by saying, oh, well, it looks like Elon's the president of the country and Donald Trump is just the vice president. Trump's not running anything. Elon's running everything and Trump's working for him. Now, people know that Trump is an egotistical guy. He has a big ego. One of the reasons why he is who he is because of his ego. And what they're trying to do is to bait Trump into thinking, oh, well, if everybody thinks Elon's in charge and not me, then that might make Trump go against Elon. Now, that people are trying to play. And the reason that they're doing this is because Elon is doing something that not even Donald Trump has been able to do successfully, even in his first term or the second time he tried to run, or even now since he's won, is that Elon is going into the, not even so deep, but going beneath the surface of what politicians show us and tell us. He's exposing their nonsense to the public in a way that they can't hide. And they're really pissed off about this. That's what people really don't like about Elon, or why people started surfacing what they don't like about him. I gave you some background reasons why they don't like him that you would already known about months ago. But this one is something that just came up in the last week. This point right here is that he's exposing politicians. So first of all, here's what you got to understand. Let's talk about specifically who's mad at him. Specifically is Congress that is mad at him. Congress is just the two sides of Congress. You have your House of Representatives and you have your senators. These are your legislature. In other words, these are the people who make the bills that, when signed by the president, become laws. This is what they do pretty much all day, every day. They're just sitting around coming up with new bills that could possibly become laws. Now, does this need to be a 9-to-5 job? No, but that's a whole different conversation on the inefficiency of government, which is, again, why people hate Elon Musk, because he and that are supposedly coming up with this organization that is about Department of Government Efficiency, was going to take all the inefficiencies of government, expose it, get rid of it, and delete it, was going to cost a lot of people jobs, money, opportunity, access, etc. I'll get to that in 1 second. That's my next point we'll get to. But this is one of the main reasons why they don't like him, because he's exposing their nonsense that they have been getting away with in the shadows for decades. And now he's putting it out there for everybody to know about. Now, this is all a conflation of things all happening at the same time. Not a conflation, confluence of things all happening at the same time, which is, first of all, that's you and I, we trust the mainstream media less than ever before, which means, here's the other thing, is that now when we want information about what's going on in the world, we go to the internet and we go to people with independent platforms, people like myself, someone like with a podcast, someone who is on social media just an individual person who is talking about what's happening rather than going to the mainstream media to find out what's happening. And because of this, many of the things that have been going on in the world, specifically, let's just talk about government, many of the things that have gone on in government for decades, it has not changed. Only thing that's changed is that now we know about it. So the same nonsense that was going on in government in 1992 is going on now. The difference is in 1992, we didn't know about it because the mainstream media would not report it. And even if they did talk about it, they can only talk about it on the surface because it was only a 30-minute news show before they had to move on to the next point. Nowadays, you have a million people publishing, and they can take as much time as they want. So they can take the same nonsense that was happening back then, that's still happening now. They can go into detail. They can explain it. They can help you understand why it's nonsense. They can help you understand how it's affecting you directly. And they can start pointing out names. They can start calling people out. Oh, it's this person. It's this person. Well, look at this detail. Look at this part they didn't tell you. Read this bill. Read this on page 387 that they try to hide inside the bill. Oh, here's where the money's actually going when they say they have Kamala Harris. We have a bill for the border. I remember the whole border bill that she was allegedly talking about was a bipartisan border bill. Well, where was most of that money going? Most of the money for the border bill, in case any of you didn't know, was going to a country that starts with the letter U, whose name that I can't say on one of these platforms. That's where most of the money was going. But see, in 1995, you wouldn't have known that because the news wouldn't have told you. But in 2025, you know it because you got podcasters and TikTokers and YouTubers who are pointing it out to you and showing you in detail. Here it is. Look at this. This is the part they didn't say. And see, Elon Musk is helping to exacerbate this issue and not allowing the politicians to hide behind things that sound good but are not actually giving you the truth. That's what they really don't like about it. He's exposing them. See, the whole thing about him being an entrepreneur and having a whole bunch of money and not following the rules, cool. He ain't the first one to fit those descriptions. But this right here, this is something that is specific to him. And because of the platform that he owns and the megaphone that he has from which to broadcast from that platform, that's what's really pissing people off. So they can't execute their shenanigans in the shadows anymore. So any of you who was following politics in this last week, and there are other people who will talk about this in much more detail than I am, but one of the things that was happening was that there was this whole threat of a government shutdown because they couldn't come up. Basically, the whole problem was they were trying to come up with a new budget for next year. And the rule is they had to come up with the budget by December the 20th, which was this past Friday. They got to come up with a budget by December the 20th, or the government shuts down because they haven't been able to figure out the budget. And again, I'm saying very high level on this. There are other people who could do hours on this the same way I'm doing hours on other subjects. Elon Musk went and started exposing what was happening. He started talking about it through his profile and just talking about how things were happening very inefficiently and how the Democrats are doing this and how politics is like this. And he posted this picture that went viral everything he posts pretty much goes viral, but he posted this picture that showed the bill. Any of you ever read a government bill? Some of them can be very short, 1 to 5 pages, but many of them are very long. The government bill that would be the budget for 2025 was like 1,500 pages. He had it printed out on the table, and it was literally 1,500 pieces of paper stacked on top of each other, literally the bill. And then he said, well, here was the bill yesterday versus the bill today, where he, I guess, came up with his own proposal of how it should be. And that one was a much smaller stack, maybe like 50 pages. And the point of that photo, whether those were real or not, the point of the photo was, again, the juxtaposition between here's what the government is doing every single day. They have a 1,500 page bill that we know most of the politicians, nobody's sitting there reading a 1,500 page bill. And you only got 3 days to decide on. You have no, but most human beings can't. And then looking at this, we have a 50 page bill, and it was a perfect picture that he painted because his whole thing is we're going to make the government more efficient. So look at this inefficiency and the way they're running now. Here's how we're going to change it moving forward. So it was a perfect post, which got its point across to everyone. You don't have to understand anything about the government to get it. And a bunch of politicians, especially those on the left, because Elon has aligned himself with the right, and Donald Trump, they are really angry about this because he's exposing them. There was another thing that was in that bill that the politicians, the legislature, they want to give themselves a raise. Now, we know that every election cycle, you got a bunch of people who are complaining about their living wages and cost of living and how they're not making enough money. And that was a big issue in this past election, right? The cost of groceries, et cetera, et cetera. So for the legislature the people in Congress, House of Representatives and the senators, to be giving themselves a raise. And these people are already earning six figures and more, all of them. For them to give themselves a raise is kind of a slap in the face to Americans who feel like they can barely pay their bills. Now, it's not necessarily, if you were to just ask me on a logical, objective level, is it necessarily a negative thing for them to get a raise? My answer is no, that they can get a raise if it makes sense for them to get a raise. The issue is that no one would have known they were getting a raise if it didn't get pointed out in the public square by Elon and people like him. That's the actual issue, that they were trying to hide the fact they were getting a raise. Not the fact they were getting a raise, is the fact they tried to hide it. And that's why they're mad, because he's exposing them and now they can't hide anymore. And who knows, maybe they'll still get a raise anyway. The point is that he put them out on Front Street, as we say. And now they're realizing what Elon is doing right now, because again, he's allegedly going to be working in Donald Trump's cabinet. Donald Trump is not even president yet. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet. We're less than a month away, but he's not the president. Right now, Joe Biden is allegedly still the president, right? And Kamala Harris is still the vice president. But what Elon is doing right now is serving notice to all politicians and everyone in government and their fans, because politicians have fans these days. I'm not talking on the Trump side, but even on the liberal side. He's serving notice to them that any nonsense that you do is going to get exposed now. Now everybody's going to know what you're doing. And again, this is the part that's really pissing them off, because they're like, shit, all right, we can't hide this stuff anymore. Now everything we do is going to get put out there and everybody knows about it. This is an issue. This is a serious issue, because again, look at this past election. If we only had the mainstream media and not independent platforms, I think Kamala had a pretty good chance of beating Donald Trump in this past election. But because of the independent platforms that we have, where we have people like Candace Owens performing surgery on Kamala Harris's alleged heritage and her background, because we have independent platforms like Joe Rogan, who had Donald Trump on the show for a 3-hour conversation, and his VP pick, JD Vance, on the show, because you had people like Kamala and Governor Walz from Minnesota, who really didn't do too many interviews, and they weren't doing any interviews with anyone who was trying to really be critical of them, as opposed to Donald Trump, who would do interviews with anybody, and JD Vance, who would interview with anybody. All of that made the difference. And the difference wasn't that big between Trump and Harris, but a small difference makes a big difference when you're talking hundreds of millions of people voting, or a couple 100 million people voting. All of this makes a difference. And Elon owning X played a role in Donald Trump winning that election. Everybody knows that. Even Donald Trump knows that. And let's move on, because I can talk about just this point alone for this whole time. Moving on to point number 6. We're talking why people hate Elon Musk. Number 6 is that the key to all of this is, with Elon, is that he can explain in plain language what a lot of politicians try to hide behind complicated language. This is a key of sales, is a key of communication, is a key of persuasion, is a key of marketing. All of those things. Sales, marketing, persuasion, and communication here's the key. You must be able to take any topic, even if it could be complex to most people, and simplify it, make it easy for anyone to understand. This is the brilliance of Donald Trump. Whether you love Trump or hate him, his brilliance is that he can speak in a way that everybody understands exactly what he's saying and exactly where he's coming from. Now, compare that to Kamala Harris, who was very bad at this. And this is one of the reasons why the outcome was the outcome. Compare it to someone like Barack Obama, who was amazing at it. Someone like Bill Clinton, also amazing at it. And then compared to others who were not so good. Hillary Clinton, not so good. And she had a whole lot of things that she was trying to hide and talk around, similar to Kamala, one of the reasons why they couldn't communicate as cleanly. Someone like Joe Biden, he has been in politics so long, I think he's picked up the skill. You're in politics for 50 years, you're going to learn something. I don't think he's that great of a communicator, but he obviously has been paying attention for all the years he's been around. He was under Obama for 2 terms. He picked up on some things. Elon, one of the reasons why he's a very successful entrepreneur and business owner is because of his ability to communicate his vision and his idea in very simple terms, such that anyone, even someone who knows nothing on the level of his expertise, can still understand where he's coming from. All of you need this skill. Everybody heard me. All of you need this skill. It's to take something that you understand at a level 10 and be able to explain it to someone who only understands it at a level 2. to where they understand it. Not you said it, that they understand it. Those are two different things. So I can sit here and talk to you about the details of anything, but if you don't understand what I said, then it doesn't matter what I said. This is a communication skill, and it's a key to selling. You want to be a good salesperson, you got to get your point across to people, and you got to meet them on their level. So in other words, I'd call it the fifth grader test. Could you explain your area of expertise to a fifth grader in a way that they get it? Fifth grader is 10 years old. Elon has this ability. And again, this is one of the reasons why people don't like him, because no one's going to be confused about what he's saying. And when he decides he's going to go after someone and point out their nonsense, they know that he knows exactly how to point it out in a way that everybody knows what he just exposed, and they don't want to be exposed. And this is the issue when it comes to just government in general, but it'll dovetail with my next point. So let's move on to point number 7. We're talking here today why people hate Elon Musk. Number 7, through this proposed Doge, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, that is allegedly going to be headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, another great communicator who I think will make a great politician if he can ever get on the ticket or win somewhere, is that they're threatening a bunch of people whose careers are based on inefficient work, but getting paid very efficiently. This is the issue. A lot of people in government are really, really, I believe, concerned right now about what's going to happen if and when these two get in power and they actually start doing stuff. This Department of Government Efficiency. Because one of the things I've been telling you all about the government for the last 3 months is that the government does not do, actually, I have to tell you, any of you who lives in the United States of America, I'll give you 1 point, which is the military. What does the government do effectively and efficiently at the same time? Name something else that the United States government does, and something that you're happy about, both effectively and efficiently. Name one thing. I would say military. I'll give you. We can't even say mail delivery because they have a monopoly on mail. So they're not very effective or efficient with that, which is why Donald Trump's threatening to drop the USPS. I don't know if he's actually going to do that, but he's making noise about it. The whole point of this Doge is that, and Vivek and Elon have said this, that they want to fire like 80% of people who work in government. Now, do I think that's a good idea? I would say for the people who work in government, it's not a good idea for you. If you're about to get fired, not good for you. But overall, if the goal is efficiency of the government, is this a good idea? Generally, I would say yes. Why? Because of 80-20 principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of the inputs, which means in the government, 20% of the people who work there are doing 80% of the job, which means you can get rid of a majority of the people and you're still going to be in pretty good shape while trimming the fat of all the extra money you got to spend, all the extra levels of bureaucracy you got to go through in order to get anything done. This is one of the reasons why the government is so inefficient, because there are all these layers of bureaucracy. And that's what they're trying to get rid of. That's one of many things they're trying to get rid of and make things a lot more effective and efficient. The challenge with this, or the challenge they're going to get from this, and nobody's going to say this out loud, but here's the challenge, is that there are a lot of people who work in the government right now whose careers are based on maintaining the inefficiencies that allow them to keep getting paid while not having to do work that is nowhere near commensurate with the salaries that they're receiving. So again, Elon and Vivek are not just threatening to make people be more effective in their work. Nobody's going to get that mad about that. And people may bitch about it and complain, but nobody's going to get that angry about it. What they're threatening is people's entire careers. That's why people are mad. They're threatening your whole career. Well, you're going to fight back too. And that's what they're talking about. We're going to eliminate jobs, not just make you, period. Your job will no longer exist. They're saying they're going to get rid of DEI departments in many organizations. And right now, the Biden-Harris administration is adding DEI departments right now. A lot of people don't know about that. They're adding DEI departments right now to certain aspects of the government as kind of like an FU to this new administration is going to be coming in soon, in less than a month. And they're all talking about they're going to get rid of them. Then you got people in the government or their organization saying, well, if they put such and such in charge of this or such and such in charge of that, we're all going to resign. And I don't think that's an effective negotiating tactic with somebody like Donald Trump. Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. And at the same time, I'm like, well, all right. So it's like the DEI department said, we're all going to resign if this person gets in charge. Well, good. Resign. That means I'll have to fire you. Even better. I'll have to give you a severance package if you resign. If I fire you, I got to pay you. So it's actually better if these people resign. So these people's careers are in jeopardy. That's the part that I want you all to understand. Why people are mad at Trump, Elon, and Vivek specifically with this aspect is that he's threatening their livelihoods. He's threatening their paychecks, which means they have to go out into the world and do some actual work and produce actual results in order to get their ROI. And here's another thing. When we're talking about the Department of Government efficiency, we need to know what they're being efficient for. What's the goal? What are we actually trying to achieve? Any of you who's ever worked in government or worked with government understands that a lot of things that happen in bureaucratic organizations, government being one of them, academia being another one, corporate America being the third one, that there are a lot of layers of bureaucracy and people who are there just to be there. They're just warm bodies filling a spot. They're not actually doing anything. They're not really producing anything. They don't really serve a purpose, but they are drawing a paycheck. And if you come in and start swinging your axe, cutting some of these people off, they're going to band together and fight you. That's what's happening with Elon right now. And Vivek, and by extension, Donald Trump. And this already happened with Donald Trump. Y'all remember the 2016 election? One of the things he kept saying over and over again. 3-word phrase: drain the swamp. What does it mean to drain the swamp? Exactly what Elon and Vivek are talking about doing now. They want to drain the swamp. What does draining the swamp mean? It means cutting all the fat, getting all the people out of the government who are not actually serving or doing anything, and kicking them out. That's draining the swamp. The challenge and the reason why Donald Trump failed to drain the swamp in 2016 in his first term, from 2016 to 2020, Donald Trump vowed to drain the swamp, but he failed to drain the swamp. Why did he fail to drain the swamp? Because the swamp, and if you ever been to a swamp before, you watch National Geographic, what's in the swamp? A bunch of alligators and crocodiles. All right. They don't go easily. All right. You can't just walk into a swamp and just tell them to get out. All right. It doesn't work that way. I would suggest you not do that. All right. They fight back. And when Donald Trump tried to drain the swamp, all the alligators and crocodiles band together to block him from draining their swamp. And that's why they're still there. Now, Donald Trump then came in with a new team. He came in with some tools this time. Now we're going to drain the swamp in a different way. All right, so he tried to drain the swamp by fighting the alligators with his bare hands. He lost. Now he came in. Now he got some tools. He got some bayonets. He got some, I don't know, whatever tool you use to kill an alligator or a crocodile. He got it. Now he got a team. Now he got some people who are going to work with him, some outsiders who are not longtime government people. Trump talked about this. I believe it was in the Rogan show. He talked about how one of the mistakes he made in his first term from 2016 to 2020 was that let me back up. I heard Megyn Kelly talk about this, that when you become president, there are like thousands of appointments and signatures you have to make and people you have to bring in, and all these people you have to decide on who should come and work with you in the government. And one of the things that Trump talked about was vetting, that every person who he wanted to bring in, they had to go through a vetting process, and that takes time, and it can add time to a situation. You only have 4 years, which seems like a long time, but it's really not. And he decided to go with a whole lot of people in his first term, because y'all hear Kamala would talk about this, and a lot of Trump opponents talk about this, that during Trump's second or third run for president, which just happened this year, Kamala said this over and over again. She uses ad nauseum, that a bunch of people who worked in Donald Trump's administration were now saying they were not going to work in his administration. Like his own vice president, Mike Pence, doesn't want to be vice president. He had to get a new vice president. And all of these people who used to work with Trump in his first term no longer want to. Was, according to Kamala, that's a reflection of Donald Trump being a bad guy, not somebody you want on your team, somebody that needs to be kicked out. The problem with that messaging is that Donald Trump is very good at counter messaging. His counter message was the following: one of the reasons why so many people who work with me in my first term will not work with me in my next term is because a bunch of them are DC politicians. They're the exact swamp creatures that I vowed to get rid of the first time. I didn't realize who they were. Now I got those clowns out of there. Now I'm going to bring in some outsiders to help me this time. And look what he's doing. Look what he's bringing in this time. He got RFK, who was literally on the Democratic side trying to get the Democratic nomination to run against Trump. Now he got him, who's going to be on his side. He got Tulsi, who, again, ran for the Democratic ticket. Now she's on this side. He got Elon, who's not in politics at all. He got Vivek Ramaswamy, who was going to try to run for the Republican ticket, now on his side. And he has a bunch of other people who are not necessarily the type of DC politicians that have been around for years. Now he has these people on his side. He's got a whole new team to try to drain the swamp this time compared to last time. And the good news is for people who are Trump supporters and people who want to see the swamp drained is that he has a better chance of draining the swamp with a bunch of outside tools than he does trying to drain the swamp with alligators on his team. That's a bad idea. It's kind of like hiring a bunch of foxes to guard the hen house. It doesn't make sense. That's what he tried to do the first time around, but he didn't know what he didn't know. This time he's not going to make those mistakes. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to completely drain the swamp. Not necessarily. But do I believe he'll get rid of some alligators? Do I believe some crocodiles are going to die during this next term? I would say yes. If you had to ask me, I'd say yes. Some crocodiles and alligators are going to lose their lives in this second Trump administration because he actually knows what the swamp is like and knows what he needs to do to drain it this time. And this is a strong threat to the establishment. And he's bringing in people, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, both of them publicly noted for being successful businessmen. One of the things you have to do when you run a business is you must run effectively. You must run efficiently. You can't waste money. You can't waste time. You cannot waste resources. Otherwise, your business will not succeed. The difference with the United States government and a lot of bureaucracies is that when you're a person working in a bureaucracy, especially when you're working with money that's not yours, like people who work in the government, you can be as inefficient as you want to, and you keep your job. See, if you're inefficient running the business, you go out of business. You're inefficient running any type of business enterprise, you will not be around long, and you damn sure won't be a success story. But in the bureaucratic world, you can do these things and get away with it. And that's why he's bringing entrepreneurs in. Donald Trump himself, entrepreneur. All right, so notice how all these pieces fit together. Moving on, point number 8. I got 2 more points, and I'll take questions. Number 8, why people hate Elon Musk. The establishment still has a strong grip on a significant portion of the media, and they weaponize this to either make Elon look bad or try to create this rift between him and Trump, which I already explained earlier. Either way, they're trying to get what they want. And what the mainstream media is doing is trying to paint Elon as a negative person. I'm explaining all this to you right here so that when you see these things and hear these things from the mainstream media, you understand where it's coming from. At the same time, politicians have these alleged fans. I don't think many of them are real fans. They just don't like Donald Trump and anything aligned with Donald Trump. So they are aligning themselves with these politicians who are against Donald Trump and attacking Elon because of it. So on social media, you'll see a lot of people talking shit about Elon and about Trump and about the things that they're allegedly doing or that they want to do. You saw this all up through the election cycle, and of course, you're going to keep hearing about it all the way up until Trump's inauguration. And the reason why people, I'm talking everyday people, not the politicians, are doing this is because they've been properly conditioned and indoctrinated by the mainstream to believe that Donald Trump is basically the Antichrist. Anything about him is negative, and anybody aligned with him must also be negative, which means anybody who voted for him must be too dumb to realize that they voted for their own demise. You hear people saying this, and that anything you voted for now is FAFO time, fuck around and find out time. The problem with all of this is that if people who voted for Trump voted for their own demise, then that means everybody's going to demise because Trump is the president. It's not like if you voted for Kamala, you get Kamala as your president, and if you voted for Trump, you get Trump as your president. Everybody gets the same president. So if you think a bunch of people who voted for Trump voted for their own demise, then that means you are also going to fall apart at the same time that they do, which makes the argument completely silly. It makes no sense. And the other thing is that I talked about this earlier, is that you can't be so childish and immature to think that everybody who voted differently from you is an idiot and everybody who voted the same as you is smart. It's not possible. Maybe the idiot is you and the smart people are the other ones. Again, just entertain the concept. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying entertain the concept. Many people don't want to entertain that concept because they are too emotionally engaged in their opinion. Therefore, they're unwilling to play with the concept that they might be wrong, that maybe they're the ones who were being fooled all along. And this is the reason why most human beings are not critical thinkers, because they can't put their emotion to the side long enough to consider that maybe their approach might not be the right one. But anyway, I did a whole live on that probably a month or 2 ago. You can find those replays on YouTube, by the way. Point number 9. This is the last point here, and I'll recap all 9 points. Then I'm going to take questions and comments. So the topic here today is why people hate Elon Musk. Point number 9 is that Elon Musk cannot be persuaded the way that most normal people get persuaded. So let me help you understand what I mean by this. The way most normal people are persuaded is by having a group of people telling you that you should think a certain way, do a certain thing, or stop thinking a certain way, or stop doing a certain thing. All right, there we go. So most people are persuaded by that. And this is the reason why when there was a virus a few years ago and everybody was saying, well, you should put a cloth mask on your face, even though there's a clear notation on the box of those cloth masks that says wearing this mask will not prevent the spread of airborne viruses. You still wore the mask on your face. You got in the elevator and someone said, hey, you got to put your mask on. You would put the mask on. And now I'm not talking just like if there was some hard rule, like you're on an airplane or something like that. I'm talking just everyday peer pressure from everyday people. A bunch of people will conform to that. And again, this is the reason why I brought up that Elon is an entrepreneur. Vivek Ramaswamy, entrepreneur. Donald Trump, entrepreneur. There's a reason why I'm bringing these people up and noting that they're entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs do not think this way. Entrepreneurs do not follow the crowd. Right? If you were just following the crowd, you would never even get the idea to be an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur, by definition, is going against the grain. It's saying, all right, there are solutions out there already, but I got a better one. I have the audacity to actually come out in public and say it, whether you say it through your actions or you say it through your words. So people who don't follow rules and who are breaking the rules are not persuaded the same way that most people are persuaded. You can persuade most people by telling them this is the rule, you got to do it. Even if there's nobody enforcing the rule, even if the rule will never be enforced, even if no one's watching, most people will follow the rule just because the rule is posted. People like Elon Musk don't do that. They actually say, well, this is the rule. Okay, I'm going to do the opposite of that, and let's just see what happens. Having the media to say that you are a bad person, that you're negative in some way, or trying to ridicule you in some way, most people are easily persuaded by that, and they're not even persuaded, but they are deterred by it. So if you believe that doing thing A is going to cause a whole bunch of people to say negative stuff about you, you won't even consider doing thing A because you don't want to deal with the negative blowback that comes with it. That stops most people. This is the reason why most people have ideas that they never execute on, because you see what happened to the last person. All right, this is the reason why they made an example of certain people. On January 6th of 2025, I'm going to do a live talking about January 6th of 2021. That was the infamous day that many of you know about down up at the Capitol of the United States. One of the reasons why the people and I'm going to talk about this in detail on that date. One of the reasons why the people on January 6th who got penalized legally, one of the reasons they got penalized as harshly as they did is not because they did something that was so terrible. The reason why they got penalized so badly was because they were being used to send a message to everybody else. You see these people, these staunch, hardcore Trump supporters who would actually show up to DT to support this guy. Look what we did to them. So if you're thinking about supporting him, think about what we're going to do to you. That was the message. That was the message that was being given through the Department of Justice to everybody in America. And they used the January 6th people, the pretext of what those people did, such as walk into the building, walk around, didn't break anything, didn't do anything, just went into the building, trespassing. They took that trespassing and they gave these people the type of sentences these people got for trespassing were, I think you could put it under the cruel and unusual punishment definition. But again, on January 6th, I'll talk about this. And this is one of the reasons why Donald Trump talked about that. He's considering, he always says that he uses this language, considering pardoning those people from January 6th. And I think is one of the first things that is going to be addressed once he steps back into the White House the next time. So anyway, all that said, let me recap my points here, and then I'll take questions and comments. So why they hate Elon Musk? 9 points that I shared here today, and I mixed a lot of these points together, but I'll just give you the 9 points so you have it. Number one, he's publicly noted for financial success. And if you notice most movies and fairy tales, the bad guy is always some rich person with a whole bunch of money. Number two, he has control over the public town square known as X, used to be known as Twitter. And that public discourse played a big role in this outcome. And it plays a big role in how people look at politics and news. Number three, he is obviously friends with and a supporter of Donald Trump. And a lot of people hate Donald Trump. And if you stand next to Donald Trump, people want to hate you. Number 4, he's an entrepreneur, not only in fact, but at heart, which means he does not follow rules, does not bend to authority, and doesn't do everything that other people tell him to do. Most people don't think like that. They're incapable of it or unwilling to be like that. So they get mad at people who are like that. Number 5, he's exposing the non, specifically people in Congress. He's taking stuff that they've always done, and now he's exposing it to where everybody knows about it, and they got a real problem with that because they can't hide anymore. Number 6, the key to all of this is that Elon has the ability to explain in plain language what's going on, and if he couldn't explain it in plain language, he would not be such a threat, but he can, and that's the reason why he's a threat. Number 7, through this allegedly proposed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, he and Vivek Ramaswamy are threatening not only that people are going to have to change the way they work, but also threatening whether they're going to have a job at all. And a lot of people are going to push back hard against that. I understand why they're pushing back, but that's why they're pushing back. Number 8, the establishment has a strong grip on a significant portion of the media. Elon has X, but there's a whole bunch more media besides just X, and they're pushing back against him, and they're going to fight. And this is how it goes. And number 9, Elon is not easily persuaded the same way that the average person is, meaning ridiculing him or attacking him verbally is not going to make him back down. Most people will back down just under the threat of ridicule or verbal attack, let alone it actually happening. All that said, let's take questions and comments. Let me start over on this lens, then we'll come to that one, then we'll come to this one last. TikTok probably usually has the most comments and engagements. So let's see. Didn't see on LinkedIn. I can't even see if there's comments. I don't think I saw anything. I'm usually looking straight ahead at this Instagram camera. I got to get another adapter for my microphone on Instagram. So if y'all can't hear me super clear today, it's because the adapter somehow got misplaced. I'll find it. But let's see what we got over here on TikTok. You got a question or a comment? Go ahead and post it. On TikTok, C. Lowe said, "Man, you giving me a headache." And he put laughing emojis or crying emojis. I don't know if that's a positive thing or a negative thing. But I'm giving you a headache while you keep watching. Clement said, "Policy changes all the time. People who never participated in the process. Now you want Musk to fix it." I don't think that's what I said. People do participate in the process because you elect everybody everybody's in Congress is elected. So we do participate by electing them. And when we elect them, we are granting them the authority to make policy changes. So we do participate in the process. That's what democracy is about. Clement asks, "What have I done? What committee am I on?" I don't do committees. I'm a business owner. I'm a decision maker of one. Committees don't get statues made for them, but leaders do. Debuff said, "Every political party puts other pet priorities in bills, so nothing will change." Well, I told you what's going to change. I didn't say they're going to change the bills. What they're going to change is the exposure of what's in the bills, which is changing. That's the whole point. Agnes says, "Elon for president." Well, you have to wait until 2028. Traditional all day say they're doing too much to line their pockets, but we have to suffer. Well, they always done that. That's not new. T. Breen said, "Why should they get a raise? In fact, their salaries need to be capped." I technically don't have an issue with them getting a raise necessarily. Again, my issue is that they try to hide it. It's not that they were getting a raise. It's that they try to hide it. Anyway, a lot of politicians get access to money in other ways because of their proximity to where power is. It's not their salaries that is their money anyway. I mean, you look up Nancy Pelosi and how much she's worth and how she got it. It ain't because of her salary. Her salary couldn't possibly do what allegedly her net worth is. Allegedly. I mean, you never know somebody's real net worth. T. Green says, "We the people, our money, our taxes." That is a fact. That's correct. Soul Simple said, "Kamala had 3 months." That's right. She did have 3 months. And if she had 6 months, it would have been worse. The more she talked, the more she exposed herself, and it made the situation worse. Soul Simple. That's the way I see it. Get Money Dre. That's not me, a different Dre. He said, "My thoughts on Dr. Umar." I agree with Dr. Umar on many things that he says. I believe Dr. Umar is a racist, but that doesn't make him necessarily a bad person. All right? Racism is legal. So I believe Dr. Umar is a racist. I believe he's funny. And I agree with him on about 60% of what he says. So those are my thoughts on Dr. Umar. But if I see Dr. Umar did an interview, I usually will listen to it just to see what he says. I believe he's very articulate. I think he's solid and he stands on what he believes. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I believe that he believes it. And I think he's pretty good at getting his point across. Entertaining guy in general. I can disagree with someone on stuff and still be entertained by the stuff that they say. Let's see. Some of y'all have left comments out of context, so I don't know. L.S. Carter said, "You are making a lot of sense, something several people are lacking nowadays." Well, that's the reason why I'm here. I'm here to provide sense to the community. So thank you. Ed said, "Exactly. Be able to explain calculus to a 4-year-old. I don't know about a 4-year-old, but a 10-year-old, yes." Rock Providence said, "No, it doesn't when you belittle people." I don't know who you're referring to. Sora said, "LOL, bro, what?" I don't know what you're referring to. When y'all leave comments on TikTok, you got to give me some context as to what you're talking about, because by the time I see your comment, I've already passed that point. So you got to fill me in so I know what you're talking about. SNO said, "Did you really just compare Trump speaking to Obama? Trump never." Well, again, SNO, let's talk about the fact that this is a results-based business. Politics is about the results. So what was the result of Obama's speaking? Is that he won 2 terms. What's the result of Trump speaking? He's won 2 terms. So what makes Obama better? What measurable thing makes Obama better? Maybe subjectively, you like Obama more. Maybe you think Obama was more, what's the word that I would use? He was more, what word would I use with Obama? Trump, let's just say Trump is more abrasive in the way that he talks. I would agree with that. And Trump is more rough in the way that he says things. However, if we're comparing outcomes, what Barack Obama says produces a certain outcome that everybody gets what he's saying, and his fans generally agree with it. And what Trump says produces an outcome, and his fans generally agree with it. So how can we say that one's better than the other? I think Obama's more smooth as far as public speaking, like giving a speech in front of an audience. Obama's very smooth. He's like a TED talker. Trump is not a TED Talk level guy, but when he's giving a speech, do his fans get riled up just as much as Obama's fans got riled up? The answer is absolutely yes. They're completely equal in that regard. Different types of speakers for different reasons. Now, for example, I think Barack Obama would be a great college professor. Right? He has that kind of vibe. Trump would not be a great college professor, but would he be great at leading let's just say leading a cult, the MAGA cult? Is he leading one right now? Yes, he is. And again, this is a results-based business, folks. And Trump, depending on who you ask, might have won 3 elections. Obama won 2. We know Trump officially won 2. So yes, I am comparing them. The purpose of speaking is not, do people subjectively think you're better than the next person? The purpose of speaking is, did you get your point across to your audience? And does Trump get his point across to his audience? Again, no one can say that he doesn't. How can anybody say that? Again, you can hate him and you can't not give him that point. Traditional said, "What about the Congresswoman still getting paid and was in a home for dementia?" You heard about that. Yeah. Dr. Josh said, "There is a foundation that works with simplicity." Yes, everything works when you can simplify and clarify. Donald Trump is very good at simplifying and clarifying. That's what makes him a great public speaker. And a lot of people don't want to give him that credit because they don't like him. And they say, well, he's all rough. And again, he's not as, let's just use the word polished as a Barack Obama. But again, look at the outcomes. If you look at the outcomes, they both got the same outcome. Sora said, "You said that Elon has that ability. Prove that claim." Okay, look at his outcomes. Again, look at Elon's outcomes. How did he become maybe the most publicly noted money person in the United States of America? How do you get that without being able to communicate to the public and communicate to whoever you want to buy your stuff? He got to be doing that somehow, some way. All right, is it magic? All right, the guy can communicate. Saki said they need a 5th grader test to test most of the people that make TikToks. Yeah, okay, fine. Sora said, "What has Elon done at the technical level that shows he has SME in any major field?" Your question is a non sequitur. What does that have to do with anything that we're talking about? The technical level? What he's done at the making money level. And one of the reasons we know him is because he made a lot of money. And that's the thing. In America, that's the thing. So Sora says, so this is a good comment here that I'm going to respond to. So Sora said, When Elon was called out on the infrastructure changes of X, he had no idea about the software dev cycle. Well, see, here's the thing, Sora. I don't know you, but I'm going to assume that you have some technical knowledge on something like what you said, the software dev cycle. I don't know what the software dev cycle is. And frankly, I don't give a damn what the software dev cycle is. And Elon doesn't need to know what it is. And I'll give you an example about this in a second. The point is he's in charge. So does he need to know what the software dev cycle is? No, because he owns the company. So if he has 15 people working for him who understand the software dev cycle, why does he need to know the software dev cycle? He doesn't. So the same way that Henry Ford, when he ran the Ford company back in the day, he had people who were going after him personally and saying that he wasn't that smart because he's rich and I hate rich people. They were trying to, he actually ended up going to court because people were trying to defame his name. I believe he sued people for questions to prove that he wasn't smart. And he said, I don't need to answer any of those questions. I got a bunch of time I need a question and answer. I can push one of these buttons and I got 15 people who will come into my office immediately and answer any question that I have to ask. So I don't need to know these things. You need to know those things because you need to fill your head with that stuff because you work for people like me. So that's the thing that you're not understanding. You're thinking that what I'm saying about Elon or Trump is a smartness contest. It's not a smartness contest. School is a smartness contest. And you know where most people who do good in school end up? They end up having jobs working for people who are allegedly smarter than, like Elon Musk. There's a whole bunch of people who work for Elon Musk who are allegedly smarter than him and got higher level degrees, and they can explain these technical things that you're asking about that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And your saving grace is that you're smarter than him. Well, he's the one who's writing your paycheck. So who's winning, him or you? I'm just asking the question. Anyway, T-Brain says the government wastes our money. Okay, I can't go against that. Mars Outdoors says, yeah, fire most of the thousands of wildland firefighters. All right, where'd you get that point from? I didn't mention that. Let's see. Robert says Social Security and Medicare work just fine. Okay, well, you should probably get a job in the government. You might want to call up Donald Trump. Sovereign Being says, as a former military member, I would not say that the military spends efficiently. I'm not even saying they're spending, Sovereign. I'm saying just the outcome of the military. I think we have a pretty strong, solid military that deters enemies. That's what I'm saying, the outcome. I'm not saying the spending. The spending, actually, if I wanted to make a whole lot of money and do something involving the government, I would start a military business somehow, some way, and connect it to the government. If I want to make a whole lot of money as quickly and as consistently as possible, that's what I would do. Just Bank said, let's get rid of money. I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but be careful what you wish for. That might actually be happening. Let's see. Chris Shells said 100% agree. Well, they need to, it don't work for us. Yes. Saki said DEI is useless. No, it's not been useless. I don't agree with it, but it's been very useful for the right people. I think it's been very useful for some people. Some people are eating really well off DEI. Racing said, you're like, good, don't have to fire them. Yeah, it's better if somebody resigns than you have to fire them. But if they resign, that means you took too long to fire them. Damon said they should have started in the Senate. They did nothing for 174K. And you're right, but you're not. So what do you mean? Let's see. Damon said, calling out the big guys that are still, there's a lady that's been in the hospital for 6 months getting paid. Yeah, no. Well, somebody who voted for her? That's the issue. Who voted for her? She got elected to that position. She didn't just step there. I'm just responding. I'm just reading comments on TikTok right now. For those of you who are coming in, I'm just reading comments and responding. Racing said his other AG were rhinos. That's why he didn't do anything. Career politicians, and he didn't want that. And then when he realized his mistake, he didn't really have enough resources to fix it. So now he has a second term, so he shouldn't make the same mistakes this time. Dr. Bob said, you seem smart. You are not educated on this subject, though. Most of what you're saying is false. All right, well, tell me what I got wrong. If I got something wrong, tell me what I got wrong. Captain I says, does that mean they're going to get rid of super PACs so Congress works for the people? I don't know. How you asking me that question? I'm not part of the Department of Government Efficiency. You have to ask them. Or you got to follow Elon on X and see what he says they're going to do. Billy said, I appreciate your words of wisdom. Thank you. So some people say I got words of wisdom. Some people said I'm completely wrong. Some people said I'm completely right. So you decide. All of you get to decide. And life is every long. So imagine thinking a group of millionaires was fighting for you. Well, only people I want fighting for me is the military. All right. So I'm not worried about how much money another person has or anybody who wears a suit to their job. I'm not worried about if they're fighting for me. So no, I don't imagine anybody's fighting for me, whether they're a millionaire, a billionaire, or a thousandaire. I'm not thinking anybody's fighting for me. You must be willing to fight for yourself. I talked about this when I did a live on who to vote for in 2024. The answer was vote for yourself. And I did a whole 2 hours explaining what I meant by that. So if y'all want to hear that, go look it up on YouTube. The replay's on YouTube. Billy Paul says, speaking truth, a lot of closed-minded people who aren't able to do critical thinking for themselves. Well, everybody's able, Billy. Most people are not willing. And a lot of people don't know how. And life is ever long said, dude, they're all Nepo babies. Well, is that a negative thing? I want my kids to be Nepo babies. You should want your kids to be Nepo babies, meaning they were born into wealth and riches. Every one of you listening to this should want your kids to be born into wealth and riches. And if they're not, then you need to be looking in the mirror and asking yourself, why not? Where'd you mess up? See, nobody ever talks about it that way. They just talk about kids who are born into richness and wealth as if there's something wrong with them and something wrong with their parents. So you should ask yourself, why didn't your parents birth you into riches? And why didn't your kids get born into riches? Or why when you're gone and if not, why not? Who messed up? That would have to be you. See, nobody wants to have that conversation. They just want to talk bad about the people who are doing it instead of asking themselves, well, why am I joining this game? It sounds like a good game to be in. I mean, since everything's perfect for them, right? Why not do it for you? I mean, that's the way I look at it. But if y'all see it differently, please let me know. Billy said, imagine thinking the Democrats give a shit about you. You could put any group in there. The only people who really give a shit about you are you and maybe the people living in your house. Other than that, I wouldn't bet on anything else. Agnes says, with his unqualified criminal, who you referring to? JB said, I think you need to find someone to explain things to you. All right, well, you do it. Leave me a comment. Tell me what needs to be explained. JB said, Trump is unethical and immoral. All right, well, those are your opinions. I'm not here to argue against your opinions, but what I will tell you is that he is the president-elect. That we can fact. Now, if you think he's unethical and immoral, fine. But chose him. Agnes says, how much on paying you? I don't know. Whatever it is, please tell me where he sent the money because I didn't get it. It didn't arrive yet. The wire got a hit. And if he's paying me, then he should have paid me before I did this live. So if he's paying me, please let me know where he sent the money. He might have had the wrong account number. JB said, Trump does not care about America. He only cares about power. You know this. Well, every politician, first of all, cares about power. That's the reason why they're in politics. Joe Biden cares about power. Kamala Harris cares about power. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they all care about power. Donald Trump may be more, what's the word that I would use here? More open about power because he was already in power. He was already a powerful entrepreneur before he got into politics. Whereas those other people I mentioned were generally nobodies before they got into politics. So it may seem like their cause is more benevolent because they were nobodies before politics. Donald Trump was a somebody before politics. And again, this goes back to my very first point that I made here, that the rich person is usually looked at as the bad guy because many of you have been socialized to believe that a person who has power is somehow bad. You should be wanting to be in power, not talking shit about people who have power. What do you want to be? Powerless? Somebody caring about power is not a bad thing. Somebody caring about money is not a bad thing. You should care about power and money. What else do you want? What do you want? Subjugation and being broke? What do you want? I don't understand. I don't understand the way that some of these comments that y'all are leaving. I'm trying to understand your thought process behind these comments. I have no problem with somebody wanting power. As long as they're not using it on me in a negative way, I'm completely fine. You can get as much power as you can. Why not? Appreciate you, Divine in Me 333. Brandon Tessner, good morning. Liz Kojo said, I can afford all this BS. I have healthcare, great paying job. A lot of them don't. A lot of who? Who are you talking about? Maria Buckaloo said, I don't like him. You don't like who? Who don't you like? Texas Lady 2.0 said, I didn't wear a mask or get the jab. Me neither. JB said, Tara, my statement is based off his actions, not off of my thoughts. Well, everything you say is based on your thoughts because words come from your brain. So technically everything's coming from your thoughts. And based off his actions, I could give you a completely different approach and we could both be right, JB. So you can, interpret a person's actions in many different ways. So if we were to take your whole life and put it under a microscope, there could be 500 people who think you're unethical, immoral, and a terrible person. And other people who think you're amazing, great, and a smart guy. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? I would say they're both right because if we look at all of your life, you can find things that people would praise. So it's not a black and white thing. But unfortunately, when it comes to public figures, people tend to make it black and white as if there's only one way of looking at it. Soul Simple said nurses and doctors wear masks all day. Yeah, they don't wear masks to prevent the spread of disease. They wear masks so that when they talk, spit coming out of their mouths doesn't get inside the body that they're performing surgery on. That's literally the purpose of the mask. That's why it's called a surgical mask. It's not an airborne virus mask. Texas Lady said, I am not a follower. All right, good. Soul Simple said, Elon's from South Africa. Yes, I know. What's your point? Agnes says, breaking laws, not rules. What are you referring to? Soul Simple said, it's not okay to break the law. Well, if you get caught. If you get caught, it's not okay. If you don't get caught, then did you break the law? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it happen? Carriana said, why do Dems approve of the politicians breaking laws like they do when they weapons politics normal? I kind of sort of got that. They all, I think, who was it that said it? I can't remember who was credited with saying it, but the saying is, show me the man and I will show you the crime. The point being, ladies and gentlemen, if you're over the age of 30, if someone was to go through your entire life with a microscope, they could find a crime that you've committed and they could find a reasonable cause to charge you with a crime. Doesn't mean you get found guilty. They can find a reasonable cause to charge you with a crime. Every single one of you over the age of 30. So let's not jump on our moral high horses here about people breaking the law, because all of you have broken the law in some way, shape, or form at some point. And if you ever worked as a waiter or a waitress and you got a $10 tip and you only reported it as $5, okay, you broke the law. You stole from the government because you didn't pay taxes on that extra $5. The point being, I'm using just that as an example, that everybody's broken the law on some level at some point in your lives. So please miss me with the moralizing. Right, none of you is qualified to moralize against another person. I know it's easy to do when you're talking about a public figure and you are not a public figure and nobody knows about your shit in your closet. But just because you know about somebody else's, don't get all righteous. Nobody is qualified. User 736 say he needs to partner for sure. He sounds like he's going to do it. I would think he's going to get a lot of calls to do it as soon as he gets in. He's probably already getting the calls. Dr. Bob said Trump is going to dump Elon presidency. We'll see. And we can't really say that Trump bought the presidency with Elon when Kamala Harris spent a lot more money on her campaign than Trump spent on his, more than twice as much. So we can't say that Trump bought anything when his opponent spent more money than he did, even with Elon on his side. Carolina said the majority have spoken. Get over it. We have had Biden for 4 years and he is incompetent. Well, the first part of that I can agree with. The majority have spoken. People got to get over it. Now, some people think Biden is amazing. Some people think he's incompetent. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter anymore. He got a month left and it's over. Christine Baldwin said they are, I don't think we're related, but good morning, Christine. Maybe we are. But they said they are in solitary confinement for 900 some days with no trial. Wrong. Yes, a lot of people from January 6th got incarcerated before they even got the trial. And these trials were show trials. Many of them took pleas because they would have got much longer sentences had they gone to trial and lost. Trump Slayer said he's an unelected billionaire. Are you talking about Elon? Then if you're talking about Elon, you're factually correct. Yes, he is not elected because he didn't run for anything. And yes, he's a billionaire. So yes, you're correct. He's an unelected billionaire. Why are you making this comment? What are you trying to say here? Let's see. I'm trying to stay where I was in the comments here. I just jumped. If you have a comment on TikTok, go ahead and post it. I'll address a few more of these, then we will wrap this up. I'm just seeing what time we're at. Damn, it jumped me very far down. I'm trying to find where I was. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to take a few more comments, then we'll wrap this up, everybody. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, by the way. Soul Simple said, are you Muslim? So organized and polished. I am not Muslim. But is that the reputation of Muslims, that they're organized and polished? Well, I thank you for the compliment. Shout out to the Muslims, but I'm not Muslim. Charles Slayer said Elon's only protecting himself and his special interests, the billionaires. Okay, maybe he is. So what if that is what he's doing? So is that a crime? You protect your special interests too. Maybe your special interests are something other than billionaires, but that doesn't make any one of us any more or less righteous than he is. Agnes says Elon was not elected. That's correct. He wasn't running. Of course he wasn't elected. He didn't run for anything. Soul Simple said, what's the name of the blue book behind you? It's called The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. That book is about how to play basketball overseas professionally if you want to play basketball for a living. Troy said, are you pro-Trump policies? I'm neutral on Trump, period, and neutral on Trump policies. And this live is not really about his policies. It's about Elon Musk. Frog Wallow said, you are right in everything you said. I totally agree. Facts 100%. Thank you. Saki said, Elon can't be president. He was born in Africa. Yes, I agree. Again, what's the point of that? What's the point of these comments that you are making about Elon's background? He didn't run for anything. He is not running for president. He didn't run for president, and he was not elected because he wasn't running. So, of course, he wasn't elected. Nicole said, my question is, do you think there should be term limits in Congress? I will have to look into it in more detail. I hear people talking about that. I understand the concept. I understand why people would say it. I'll have to look into it more before I could give you a more compendious answer on that. But that's not the topic here today. I understand, though, the argument for it, and I also understand why some people argue against it, because they're people that have been in there forever and they don't want to leave. So I get it. Term limit as far as age. Again, I can see the argument for, I can see the argument against. For now, I have nothing else to say about it. Cheryl said, you have that ability to make people understand what is actually going on. Well, thank you. I do my best. Can't explain everything, but I explain the stuff that I want to talk about. I pick a topic that I want to talk about that I feel like I can explain, those ones I talk about. And that doesn't mean I can talk about every single tangential issue to every subject. Sometimes I'll be talking about a subject and then somebody will try to go into some tangential detail and say, well, why don't you talk about this? And if you can't talk about that, then you shouldn't talk about it at all. And people do that usually when they hear something that they disagree with. I understand it, but it doesn't work on me. Life Coach says, exposures of Congress members taking out loans and not having to pay back. Well, do they have access to the loans the same way everybody else does? Now, if they did it illegally, then that's an issue. But if not, then, hey, the game is the game. The game is the game. I ain't saying it's necessarily good or bad. I'm just saying it's the game. That's all I'm saying. Big Park says, why is YouTube blackballing you? Because of what I'm talking about right now. I'm live on YouTube right now. But I get way more people see the stream when I do more people see TikTok than see YouTube. But why is YouTube blackballing or shadow banning, as they say, I believe is the subject matter. Low Key Lorax says book recommendations. I get asked this every time I do a live. Give me a subject matter and I'll tell you some books. But just book recommendations as a general point, any one of my books. You can see them right here on the shelf. You see the titles, just go and buy them. Go to thirddaybook.com, get that book. But if you give me a subject matter, I can give you some specific books. Big Daddy says Trump won 3. Some say. I can't argue with it if someone says that he did. Mimi said Obama was eloquent. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Very eloquent. Sam Boyd said, thanks very much. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mia said Obama presents himself better. Well, better is a subjective term. Soul Simple said Trump is offensive. To some people, he is. And that's fine. Being offensive is not a crime. Ed said Obama could be considered more classy than Trump. Okay. Some people could consider him that. And some people say the exact opposite. Again, neither one is right. Neither one is wrong. Someone said, I already answered that question. And life is every long said, you should be embarrassed. Embarrassment is a state of mind. It's not something that happens to you. And no, I'm not embarrassed. You can't assign embarrassment to a person. Divine in Me said, why present a bill of 1,500 pages? Don't give everyone a chance to read it. Sinister agenda. Who's going to read a 1,500 page bill? Nobody. The bill needs to be simple enough that someone can actually read it, not give them enough time to read a 1,500 page bill. Who's going to read a 1,500 page bill when your full-time job is presenting and passing bills? That means you got to read a 1,500 page bill like what, every week? I don't know about that. Andrea Nicole said Obama equals intelligent and charismatic. Okay. All right. Those are subjective terms. And if that's how you feel about them, I have no problem with you feeling that way. Soul Simple said Obama was more appealing and educated. Okay. I have no problem with you feeling that way either. Okay, why y'all keep saying all these positive things about Obama? I like Obama. Good guy. Great speaker. And they both won 2 elections. Again, outcomes. This is a results-based business, folks. I'm not asking you about how you feel about these people. Who cares how you feel? I mean, as a rhetorical question, there's also a non-rhetorical question. Why does it matter how you feel about Barack Obama or Donald Trump? Because the outcome is they both won twice. That's the outcome. The outcome is all that really matters. Elusive Lady said, Trump is a narcissist who makes me question the people who supported him. Well, you and 80 million other people question the people who supported him. But the answer is he won. That's the answer. So Elusive, you question it. I just gave you the answer. Andrea said, Trump has a very specific audience. Yeah, very specific audience of 100 million people. That's quite specific. Dr. Bob said his point is always brown people bad. Nah, I don't know about that one. Soul said Trump is leading the most uneducated and blowing smoke. Well, here's the thing about educated. I talked about this in a live I did maybe about 3 weeks ago. I talked about it multiple times. When people say educated, what are you referring to? Let me ask that question before I even tell you what I want to say, because I want to make sure I have the proper context. So put in the comments, when you say the word educated, what do you mean? Put educated and then equal or colon and explain to me what you mean when you say educated. Or when you mean uneducated, what do you mean by that? Mr. T said he mumbles more than Biden. Okay, he mumbled enough to win 3 elections, or at least 2. Okay, so I guess mumbling works. Trevor said it's not simplicity, it's childish banter. Okay, well, childish banter that won him 2 elections. Again, we're talking about results here, folks. We're not talking about your personal feelings about these things. Cheryl said, am I going to do a show about the drones? I haven't paid enough attention to it. I don't think there's enough material there for me to talk about it because we don't know what they are. So what am I going to say? Besides what I just said. Someone says, it's true that Trump scored higher on his IQ test than Obama. I never heard about either, and nor do I care. I don't care how high anybody scores on an IQ test. What I care about is the outcomes. The outcomes, folks. This is a results-based business. I don't care what you score on the test. The test itself doesn't mean anything. The test is the election. All right, they both won 2 elections. So IQ, whatever. IQ 0, IQ 1,000, doesn't matter. Bless he's successful only because of people around him. Who are you talking about? Shep said, no way that's real. Look at the background, the eyes. Watch when his beard comes over his collar. All right, my beard comes over my collar. This is not real. It's pretty real. Look, here's one of my books. Let me pull it off the shelf so you can see that it's real. So this is my book, Work on Your Game. Use the pro athlete mindset to dominate your game in business, sports, and life. Real. So there's a question of this is real. Is this AI? Here I am. AI. All right. Poop said Obama was a law professor. So Appointed Bloom said, nice tie. Thank you. Poop said Bill Clinton was the smartest president. He was a Rhodes Scholar. Being a Rhodes Scholar doesn't make you smart. It just means that you went to school and you passed enough classes to get a certain distinction from a college. That doesn't make you smart. It just means you are a successful student. King of Spades said they are smart in business. That's what really matters. Well, that's what matters in business. Correct. Ed said always comes back to results. Who's writing the check? That's right. And when it comes to government, the American people are writing the check. So that's why we're talking about this. AU said existing government efficiency is an oxymoron. I would agree with that. Dave Baldwin said people are smarter than Elon Musk. So why is he their boss? Who is smarter? Because being a boss is not about being smart. So your question is a false one. Your question is presupposing that being smart puts you in charge. It does not. Being smart means that you know certain things and you can be employed by somebody who can use your knowledge. Most super smart people are employees of people who are less smart than they are. But you notice that most people who graduated at the top of their classes in colleges usually go get jobs working for other people. Most of them are not business owners. Many of the most famous business owners we know dropped out of school. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, these people are dropouts. Jeff Bezos, I don't even know how much school he did. Elon Musk, did he even go to college? I don't know. But this is what's taught to us in school, that the smarter you are, the higher the position you get. But the position you get is a position handed to you by somebody else who writes the check. If you want to write the check, you got to become the boss. And to become the boss, you don't need to be smart. What you need is you got to have a strong stomach. You got to have some fucking balls. Many people who go to school and get high-level degrees, advanced degree holders, they don't have a lot of balls. Their balls have been stripped off of them through years of going through the system of education. They're taught to sit down, shut up, follow the rules, and wait for somebody to tell you what to do, which makes them perfect candidates to get a job. Is that a job? What do? Sit down, shut up, follow the rules, and wait for somebody to tell you what to do. So many of you have just been taught incorrectly that going to school and doing really good means you're going to be in a position of being a boss. You may be a manager, but you're not going to be an owner. Those are two different things. I'm not saying nobody can be. I have a college degree and I'm a business owner. I don't have an advanced degree. I got a regular degree. I got a basic 4-year degree. But I have balls and I have a strong stomach. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. And I will never be an employee of anyone ever again in my life because of my mindset, not because I'm smarter than other people. This is not a smartness contest. I think I am smart, but that's not the reason why I hold the position that I have. User 391, go to thirddaybook.com. Just spell out the title, thirddaybook.com. That's where you get it. Elusive said the money will be gone. It's not backed off anything. Gold, the federal. Yeah, I did a live on that probably in September. While the middle class will disappear. Disturbed American said, I like your content. It's good discussion and topic. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Be here tomorrow. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. is when I do these lives. Primo said, exactly. You always want your kids to do better than you. That's right. Treadstone, love you. Thank you for speaking truth. Thank you, Treadstone. Love you back. Primo said, I preach it to my daughter all the time. Tell her to read books about it. That's right. Ed, that's correct. Brandon said, love watching your lives. Keep it up. Thank you. All right, a couple more and then we'll wrap this up. There's a lot of comments here. I think I'm reading too many of these. I got to skip some of you so I can get to a couple more of these, then we'll wrap this up. Nicole said, why can't we use APA or lawyer ethics then? I don't know what you're referring to, Nicole, here. What are you talking about? Use it for what? Milf's Coney said, competence with power is the difference between Obama and Trump. Spreading the wealth is great. Well, whose wealth? What wealth? The United States doesn't have a lot of wealth right now. The United States is $35 trillion in debt. So whose wealth are you spreading? So I don't believe it's great. If you're talking about taking money out of my pocket and giving it to other people just because I got it, no, 100% again. But it's not working. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Treadstone said government is addicted to big spending. That needs to change. Yes, that every politician has been saying that for the last 30 years. Nobody has succeeded. I don't think you're wrong, but nobody succeeded in figuring out how to make that happen. Pumpkin 429 just found you. Love your thought process. Thank you. Blessed by the best said, how do you think Trump and Elon is going to help the average household? We'll see. We'll see. I think the average household should not be sitting and waiting for the government to do anything for you. That's what I say. I did a whole live on this probably in either September or October, probably October, where I talked about who to vote for. And the short answer is vote for yourself. And the long answer with context is I did a 2-hour live explaining where I explained to people that you should not be waiting on or depending on the government to do anything for you, regardless of who's in charge, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, Trump, Obama, Biden, whoever. If you're waiting on the government to save you, you are in a precarious position. So I don't know what they're going to do for the average household. I ain't average, so I ain't worried about what they're going to do. And none of you should be worried about it either. Linda said Elon wasn't born here. Why do people keep saying that? Why do people keep leaving that comment? Someone said, do I think Trump will stop the weapons shipment? I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. We will see. And that's not the topic here anyway today. Lori said, Elon unelected equals bad. Millions of unelected bureaucrats, good. Got it. All right, so I see you. You're being sarcastic. Let's see. Eric said, can I buy a work on your game hat? If so, where? I do have those hats. Oh, you can see that hat up there. I do have those hats. I don't know if our website where we sell those hats is even up anymore. Send a DM. My assistant will give you a link, or we'll send you like a PayPal link or something like that where you can buy one. You can buy that hat for $50, 50. I do have some though. I have some in a closet over here. We can get that to you. Sharon M. Cole said, I like that. All that matters is the outcome. Yes, that's drawn from my background as an athlete. In the sports world, all that matters is a scoreboard. I mean, we do a lot of stuff to affect the scoreboard, but at the end of the game, all that matters is what the scoreboard says. Elite Financial said, what is your end goal? My end goal is to end this live in a few minutes so I can go to the bathroom. That's my end goal right now in the moment. Steven said, Joe Biden is and will be a great president. All right, that's your opinion. Fine. I mean, we've only had, 46 presidents? We call all of them great. It's only been 46 of them. Can't they all be great? Angie said, I love your content. So smart and articulate. Thank you. Shayna or China said, don't depend on the government. Yes, do not depend on the government. I don't care what side you're on. Do not depend on the government. Nicole said, we shouldn't depend on the government, but we should care for our fellow citizens. What's the conflation between those 2 points? I don't depend on the government at all. My care for my fellow citizens is what I do business-wise every single day. I do these lives to help give people some insight, some information, some resources to have entertain a little bit, to give some of you all something to hate watch. Some of you can love watch. So that's how I'm caring for my fellow citizens. Entrepreneurs must give value. Otherwise, we go out of business. Billy Jean said, people keep saying Elon can't be president because you said he would have to wait to be elected. I was being sarcastic. All right. Oh, so that's why people keep saying that. It was sarcasm. Yes, I know Elon's not from the United States. And no, I do not think that he's going to run for president. It was sarcasm, in case any of you didn't catch it. Sometimes I use dry humor. Okay. So appreciate you, Crespo. Yes. Yeah, that really is my end goal. I really do have to go to the bathroom because I work out first thing in the morning. I wake up early in the morning. I wake up this morning. I woke up at 3:30. Wake up usually before 3:45, and I go to the gym and I work out and I drink a lot of water when I work out. Usually by the time I start these lives, I've either drinking 4 or 5 liters of water, and then I sit here for 2 hours and I don't go to the bathroom. Usually I don't go 2 hours or I'll go to the bathroom at any point during the day except when I do these lives. So by the time I finish these lives, I do need to go to the bathroom. So I'm saying all that to say, folks, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I will probably go live. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a live every day this week. Even on Christmas Day, I'll probably still do a live. I got to figure it out because the gym that I work out at is opening. They said they're going to open at 8 o'clock. So that's my usual live time. So maybe I'll do a live later in the morning on Wednesday. But then every other day this week, I think I'm going to be on normal schedule of 8 a.m. When I do these lives. So if you like what you heard here today, be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Make sure you follow me on whatever app you're following me on. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because that's where all the replays are. So any of you, anytime you hear me say I talked about this already, it's on YouTube. So go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube link is in my TikTok bio. My Instagram link is also there. So follow me on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to me or follow me on at least more than one platform. I have a Facebook page. My Facebook is a business page. It's just my name, Dre, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin. My YouTube, already told you. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Rumble, and TikTok. Is that it? Yeah. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. All right. My full-time work is I run a business. We do business consulting, coaching, speaking, books, courses. We have a whole university called Work on Your Game University. And it's a real university where you get a real education you can use in real life, not just getting a piece of shit degree from some college and $200,000 in debt. We're not going to do that. We're going to actually put you in the black. So you're actually making a profit immediately working with us rather than going into debt and then getting a job that isn't even giving you enough money to pay back your student loans. All right. I'm not talking about you, but I am talking about you. And I went to college, by the way, but we got a real university for real life stuff that's going to really help you take your game to the next level with me as your direct coach. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So if you love what you heard here today, be back here tomorrow. If you hated what I did here today, be back here tomorrow because you're going to hate it even more tomorrow, whatever I'm going to talk about next. I don't even know what the subject is. Frank T said, what university is it? It's Work on Your Game University. So you see that book right there that says Work on Your Game? That's the name of my company. Work on Your Game University is the name of my, the place where we do. I just told you I need to go to the bathroom. I'm sitting here talking to you. Have a great Monday. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We out.